talk to the Savior about continuity, about his giving up. What if he'd have gotten halfway through his atoning sacrifice and said, doesn't look to me like anybody's very appreciative here, I'm quitting? Well, every one of us would be in sorry soup if that's what happened. Thank heavens it wasn't. And he said and did see it through to the end. And I think we sometimes pass over it in the New Testament account, but I think one of the great things that he said in those final 7 phrases from the cross, one of the sweetest is when he said, it's finished. And Father, unto thee I commend my spirit. Well, I'm grateful that he was able to finish it. I'm grateful that for my sake and yours and everybody we know and our children and our children's children, that he was able to see that through. Well, we're supposed to see through a little difficult weather.
Travis Wayne Goodsell. Matthew chapter 1. We start off with a listing of names that are supposedly genealogically combined or connected. Means a male, female producing a baby descent, even though they don't give the wives in all cases. And so it's important to know that they talk about he's a son of David, even a son of Abraham, rather than a son of Joseph. Because David, it's interesting, complicated. You got to use science, not spiritual witness feelings. And I hope Mormons aren't offended by that. Because to use your feelings to learn truth makes you stupid. Don't be offended by that if you're guilty of it. You don't learn to communicate with other people by feelings. You learn to communicate with other people by learning the science of the particular language. You've got to learn the alphabet or whatever form that it takes. You've got to learn vocabulary. You've got to learn sentence structure. You've got to use comprehension. The Bible itself required science for its creation. None of it was a spiritual witness feeling. Obviously, it was inspiration originally, and that the person had to follow through and produce the results of the inspiration to produce the written word. That's science, not spiritual witness feelings. It's blatantly obvious in this physical reality. Nobody should be offended by that. So move on. But it's interesting to note that there are 14s, 2 sets of 14, thus 2 sets of 7 plus 7. I catch on to that because of my specific experiences. But moving on. And so then we're told about the birth of a guy named Jesus. This was a Jewish document written by a Jewish author of a Jewish religion, thus a Jewish Christ. So why in the hell would you put Christian in here? Joseph Smith calls that practice all wrong, abominable, and corrupt in his first vision, verse 19. Why then would you put Jesus in there? It would be as abominable, all wrong, and corrupt as putting Jesus in Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon's religion, because they're Jewish too. There's a reason why Joseph Smith did not name those personages Jesus. When you understand science, you put away the falsehood teachings that you've been given. They are worthless to you. You've been conned and deceived into using it. You must understand and learn the Jews to understand correctly the scriptures. And so, Joseph, who is not the father of Jesus, is actually the son of David. Verse 20. And he is told in a dream by a messenger. And so he has visions. He's a seer. Joseph, the seer. You gotta know the learning of the Jews. There is a Messiah ben Joseph, like Joseph of Egypt, and he prepares the way for the coming of Messiah ben David. So Joseph, written by a Jewish author about the Jewish coming of a Jewish Christ, is talking about Messiah ben Joseph, who is preparing the way for Messiah ben David. This is not literal history. This is prophecy and revelation. And so he's told to call his name Jesus. And then quotes from a prophet that is not named about, behold, a virgin shall be with child and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. And then a Christian put in, which is being interpreted, God with us. That needs to be removed. No Christianity in this document by a Jew. All wrong, abominable, and corrupt. We don't know who the prophet is. I mean, yeah, they knew from the footnotes, didn't they? Didn't they? Oh, there it is, way down in 23. Yeah, it's Isaiah. That's also why you know a Christian put in which being interpreted as God with us, because it's not in Isaiah. And notice it's not in the Book of Mormon either. But notice the Book of Mormon tells you exactly the meaning of Emmanuel. Joseph Smith tells you the meaning of Emmanuel. Nevertheless, you got to know Hebrew. Otherwise, you're going to miss what's going on here. You're going to be deceived by a Christian. The prophet is Isaiah. Everybody knows this. But there's some stuff that's going on here. Sign is removed. Both Isaiah and the Book of Mormon have sign. I give unto you a sign. Not a literal history event. Prophecy, revelation. Revelation is time, day and hour. So we can know the day and the hour if we use the Jewish interpretation by the Jewish authors. It's Christians who added in, no man knows the day or the hour. And so, why is he naming him Jesus if his name's prophesied to be Emmanuel? They're different names, they have different name meanings. Well, who's the prophet? Isaiah. How is Isaiah spelled in Hebrew? How is Jesus spelled in Hebrew? Oh, they're the same, it's just they're reversed. Yahshua for Jesus, Shua Yah for Isaiah. Now, do you see what the author is doing? He is telling you, I'm giving you a prophecy from Isaiah of the Jewish Christ, who is the man like Moses of Deuteronomy 18, verse 15, of which all Jews, because it's the law, have to tell their story of the future man like Moses. And thus Jesus is being told in this story as a man like Moses through the prophet Isaiah and the prophecies and revelations about him. But the sign is the day and the hour. It's been taken out by Matthew's author. Nevertheless, that's the date of the birth. But lo and behold, the original document of Matthew did not have chapter and verses. And so this is all one text. So verse 1 in chapter 2 is a continuation of the same story. This is now the date that Isaiah gives. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king. Isaiah 7:14 is incomplete. You need to include chapter 6, verse 1. A king dies, and a new king takes over, and he has a vision in which he sees God sitting upon his throne. That is important because the author of John, the Revelator, gives you the precise day and hour of the sign. Revelation chapter 12, verses 1, 2, and 5. The author made a mistake putting 5 in verse 5. It needs to be moved to verse 3, if not verse 1. Now check the Joseph Smith translation of that. Oh, there you go. Now go to the Book of Mormon. Lehi has his second vision. Verses 8 through 10. Oh, it's the same date. This is the start of the story. The Book of Mormon is the start of the story, with John being very graphically detailed, using all 5 visible planets, the sun and the moon, and the specific constellations of which they are in. It is the one and only date of the 23rd of September, 2017. Yeah, 2017. This is the start of the ministry. This is the start of the latter days. To who? The Jews? Christians? Who? It's in the Book of Mormon. Who is the Book of Mormon for? Mormons. Those who join Joseph Smith. It's for you. And wouldn't you know it, 2 Nephi chapter 3, verse 5, Joseph Smith Jr. is the man like Joseph, Messiah, ben Joseph, who prepares the way for the Mormon Christ, who is Messiah, ben David. Joseph is telling us from the Book of Mormon, from his own scriptures too. Section 107, verse 91, there's the man like Moses. Section 103, verse 16, there's the man like Moses. The church were naughty this year and removed all of those Christ scriptures from the manual of the Doctrine and Covenants. And so now you can go back into your Bible. Joseph is Joseph Smith Jr. And the Mormon, who starts his ministry on the 23rd of September 2017 to Mormons at their headquarters, Utah. Wouldn't you know it, Judea, is phonetically the same as Utah. Wild. It's amazing how Mormons admit that they don't know everything. But it is sad that Mormons, despite admitting they don't know everything, at least know what's not true. If you don't know everything, you don't know what's true or false yet. You're not running the scientific tests. So all of this is done by science, not spiritual witness feelings. Jewish authors put in science. You're supposed to use science to interpret it. And so, Herod the king is Zedekiah in 1 Nephi chapter 1. He's the king in Isaiah. He's Pharaoh to Moses, who likewise starts his ministry at the top of the mountain, Utah. Wild. And so there's some other stuff that involves Bethlehem. Which, did you see my translation of Luxor, which is Wasset? It's an easy translation of the Egyptian. All Egyptologists miss it. And so there's some other prophecies that are involved here. Murdering of babies at the southern border by the leader of the United States of America in 2017. Okay, and then there's Nazareth, which is the same as Mitzrayim, as I did that video, or picture for you in the video also. Bethlehem, Nazareth, Egypt, which is Mitzrayim. Even though Ham was technically Egypt, that's the Genesis author thing. Higher level learning. Tried to share it with you, hoping you would learn. And so, chapter 3, we now have John the Baptist preaching in Judea. John the Baptist is the man like Joseph, Messiah ben Joseph. Notice that they're cousins, because the Mormon, who's the man like Moses, the Christ, Messiah ben David, Emmanuel, is to come out of a branch different from Joseph Smith Jr. Hiram. That's why Hiram's wife was the only immediate Smith family member to go with Brigham, who's technically Hebrew. That's why it's so sad. But yet, in that indoctrination of Joseph Smith, Fielding Smith Sr., he leaked that the Brighamite branch off was the enemy. And Mormons are in denial. Because if you haven't caught on, this is going contrary to the prophets of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yeah, no duh, because they're false. This is Jewish. You're supposed to interpret it as Jewish. You're not supposed to use Christianity. Christianity is all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. Yeah, church ain't true, Mormons. Why are you offended with this? Because you got conned, thus you're guilty. I'm trying to save your lives by teaching you the truth. And you want me dead and silenced? You threaten me to deny this truth? This is science. And it is incredible prophecy and revelation that you're just dismissing as fake news. Dear God, you guys have got some problems in you. So John the Baptist is Messiah ben Joseph, who's preparing the way for the coming of Messiah ben David. And boom, there he is. Even though there's some issues with the enemy who would behead him. And so, yeah, here at the end, then cometh Jesus from Galilee to Jordan, unto John to be baptized of him. And so, yeah, Beth Bara and Jordan, don't get hung up on that. It's not literal history. Pay attention to the meaning of the Jewish words. Because here you're seeing baptism as the parting of the waters and passing through on dry ground. That's what you're supposed to pay attention to. The man like Moses. Baptism is that symbolism. Starting of the ministry. The exodus of Moses is the starting of getting Mormons to Zion. All the Passover stuff, which took some time, as the Jews understand it, not the Passion Week of Christians, is the whole 7 years of the latter days. Yes. If John gave us the starting, do you think John may have given us in verse 19, or chapter 19, verses 11 and 17, the last year? Yeah, because you need to know that. Because it has to do with fishes and loaves of bread. And so, this parting of the waters is the last year of the latter days. The Exodus. April 2024. That's the sign. And so in chapter 4 is confronting the false prophet. He's doing battle again. This pattern is repeating. Moses starts his ministry in Utah, confronts the false prophet. And then the parting of the waters with the Exodus. And so now again in chapter 4, it's a new story, but repeating the same pattern. Top of the mountain, confronting the adversary, Set from the Egyptians who murdered his father, Messiah ben Joseph, Osiris. And so Horus, the Christ of the Egyptians, is Jesus in this story, who is to restore the kingdom of his father, who was murdered by his uncle Set, which in Paleo-Hebrew, King Set is Satan. The N is a suffix determinative. Science. And so the authority is challenged, and Satan, the devil, keeps quoting from Psalms. Jesus responds each and every single time with the Jewish law, book of Deuteronomy. That should have been corrected with the revised footnotes for foreign languages with the Guide to the Scriptures. You're welcome. They were all impressed with that. Yeah, I don't know why the first group didn't do it. What's up with that, Bruce? And so notice, after this confrontation, during the latter days, then you have, from that time, Jesus began to preach. Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Zion. And so, the sign for when the Zion event The final year is to be. And so he sees two brothers who are fishermen. Two fishermen. Pisces. 8 April 2024, the solar eclipse, the sign of the Christ, Emmanuel, the sun god at noonday of the Egyptians. Section 107, verses 2 through 4. The hidden name. You can also find it in Revelation 19. He had a name which no man knew but he himself. Sun, the Most High, sun at noonday. The Jews know it. They're telling you. And Christians said, Jesus, God with us, all wrong, abominable, and corrupt. And so, yes, the sun was on the back of the white horse in Pisces, the two fish. Jesus is in the Lamb-Ram constellation. Sacrifice. Again, Revelation 19 explains it all for you. And so this is telling them, Mormons, let's go to Zion. Give up your career to start a new career in Zion. And that was the big sign for you to know, Mormons, when the preparations for going to Zion would be. And all the world saw the sign together, thanks to our scientific modern technology. And so then we have another little story as well, continuing on. The same pattern over and over again. And so he's a healer, preaching the word, correcting the errors that people had been given, causing a sickness in the mind, re-educating them. Okay? So, Section 42, verse 33. The residue is to be consecrated unto the bishop. It shall be kept to administer to those who have not, from time to time, that every man who has need may be amply supplied and receive according to his wants. Therefore the residue shall be kept in my storehouse to administer to the poor and the needy. Section 51, verse 3. Every man equal according to his family, according to his circumstances and his wants and needs. And down to 13 and 51. Let the bishop appoint a storehouse unto this church. Let all things, both in money and in meat, which are more than is needful, for the wants of this people. Likewise, he gets what he wants and needs for his family. 70, verse 7. Inasmuch as they receive more than is needful for their necessities and their wants, it shall be given into my storehouse. See a pattern of Joseph Smith's economy? It ain't section 119. Section 82. You are to be equal. In other words, you are to have equal claims on the properties for the benefit of managing the concerns of your stewardships. Every man according to his wants and his needs, insomuch as needs are just. And then the excess to be cast into the Lord's storehouse, to be the common property of the whole church. Excess. So in Zion, however, there is a difference. There is no monetary system of economy. So after defining what priestcraft is, and then it's forbidden, especially for Zion, he then tells us, the laborer in Zion shall labor for Zion. For if they labor for money, they shall perish. We are going to need money to start off with, unless all hell breaks loose and we have to start with the resources of the earth to mine and manufacture them to produce the things for Zion. That's going to take a longer time to build Zion. I am not happy if that would be the case. My way is perfect, but I'm having to deal with imperfect humans who don't want to cooperate with their evil plot and who keep failing too. What's up with that, Nelson? Plan G for the 20th? Dear God, how did you let it get this far? I was wanting to quit on more. Right, Holland? So yes, we're waiting for the fall of the great and abominable church. We're waiting for the transfer to me. And so I can then immediately, because I'm set, I'm prepared to go. With the Exodus, to take you to Zion, to save your lives from this enemy that's holding you hostage, and then build Zion. And so in Zion, the worldly ways are no longer. This is the Zion system that you'll be transformed into. No monetary system of economy. And so there's a whole bunch of careers or jobs that will be obsolete. This is what you need to understand, is what have you been doing with your life? Have you been preparing and planning to help build Zion? Or have you been conned and deceived into getting a career that is worthless and will be of no value or use in Zion? Now, many poor are forced to get a job to make a paycheck. That's not what counts here. Because even though you will no longer be an employee to some other master who owns you and pays you minimal amount of money to barely survive on, that is no longer the case in Zion. In Zion, you actually get to be somebody who helps manufacture goods for the storehouse. Because an individual cannot make everything needed for everybody. There are people who have different abilities and skills for a number of things that they can do, so that doesn't matter. If you can do 7 different things and another person can do more than that, there is no shaming involved. There is no quota for the storehouse. You have everything given to you to learn and to do. There's no need to worry about robotic technologies of automation taking your job. All of this greed, selfishness, jealousy, and thus the actions of criminal behavior will be eliminated. There's no need to steal because you get everything you need and want. And so, to finish it off so I can go running, we're going to end early, I guess. There is no need of being a politician anymore. If you have wasted your days as a politician for the great and abominable church, thinking that you're going to get their kingdom back for them, yeah, you're not welcome in Zion, let alone your career field. We're using a constitutional republic, which is simply life, liberty, property. You get it, everybody else gets it. And so if you're taking away the life, liberty, and property of another, you're out. You have your life, you get to live. You are free. There is no need for you to be a mean girl or a mean Mormon, to abuse other people, to tell them how they need to live. No more commercials insulting people in order to get them to buy your product now. And if you order soon, if you order right now, we'll also throw in, "You're ugly, women. Try our makeup that'll make it look natural. You're deformed, women. Deform your bodies with plastic surgery and Botox. These products are causing you harm." Gone in Zion. You're lovely just the way you are, not just because of the song. If only we can get women to understand this. Women have been severely abused by this church and by our culture that wants to profit off of you by insulting you, degrading you, devaluing you. No more in Zion. And it's sad that women are the ones who don't watch my channel. I'm the one who can save you. And so, yeah, you'll no longer be an employee to somebody else. You are an independent agent. If there's an idea that you have to make for Zion, great. If you don't have an idea for that, that's okay too. If you want to help by all of the basic necessity, any of the basic necessities, great. We can set you up with an automated robotic system to mass produce so that you don't have to get carpal tunnel sewing. The church has an automatic sewing machine. It's quite fascinating, making the stitch design on the aprons. You know, they just had a computer programmer who put in the program, and then the machine ran on its own. No woman getting carpal tunnel needed. And yet they don't do it for the sewing machines of the underwear. But nevertheless, I'm leaking, women. What the hell? ocular cavity is leaking. And so, no business persons, no advertising companies, none of that is needed anymore. There will be a catalog of the inventory in Zion that will be made available to everyone, because if there's something you need and you want, you can get it. So you need to know what's available to obtain. And thus, you can get inspired to say, hey, there's not this in there. I can get that. I can make that. And then you inform us what you need and want to make that happen. And we'll give it to you. And you can make it happen. And so no sales. You know, you can do try on hauls, women. I highly encourage it. To show the different products that are available. But it's more for rating rather than salesmanship. And so we don't want Mormons saying, I made this exclusive product, get it now. No, because you're retaining the gift. You're supposed to freely give to Zion without expecting anything in return, even though you do get whatever you need and want. No more of this labeling system that's in our economy for the purpose of the economy. You know, a Prada. Oh, I gotta get a Prada. No more of that crap. The world's value is gone in Zion. There is no monetary system of economy. And so no hard labor jobs. Those are a danger to man's life, liberty, and property. They shorten your lifespan. We have robotic, automated technology that can do those hard labor work without harm to humans. So all of that will stop. And it will be green friendly. No more coal. We'll have to see about the produce of oil and gas, because those are obsolete energies and fuels, but there are other items that we utilize in life. So we'll have to see if there can be a better replacement so that we don't need the produce of oil and gas. So yes, the building of Zion. If you notice the fires in California, those wood homes, yeah, they're gone. Zion will not be built to be burned. It will be built to endure for as long as possible. The homes that are currently being built now, they're built only for a temporary period of time because the construction workers want to keep their jobs and continue to have more labor for them. If you get housing that needs to be torn down and a new housing built up in its place. This is why Utah Roads, UDOT, came out with their report of what they did for 2024. And those who are in the field know that UDOT specifically does a poor quality job to continue to repeat their job for job security. No more of that crap. Not in Zion. What you build, you need to build to last. Like the '69 Ford truck. Before all hell broke loose in Ford. But then provided my dad with a job while we lived in Michigan as a baby. Newborn, toddler, started kindergarten and first grade there. And then running out of time. And then finally, no psychology. I found out this morning doing the check on it, because the news had reported last year that there are 100 treatment centers for teens. And they're being exposed as a criminal operation, holding people hostage, drugging them unnecessarily, bullying them and abusing them, telling them they're mentally retarded and that they're the only ones who can help them with their problem. All of that gone. If you are a psychologist, you are not allowed to practice in Zion. If you think you're going to come to Zion and sneak it in, you're going to be booted out. You are the enemy. You are not allowed in Zion. And so you will need to be re-educated into a more Zion-friendly career field. And it's sad because with 100 for teens, there are 311 for adults, which means over 400 in the state of Utah alone. All of you who got your education in that field to work in those career fields, all is worthless and useless in Zion. You are not allowed. And so it's going to be difficult for you, just like it is for Mormons going to Zion. You cannot worship Jesus in Zion. You have to do it right. You have to use science. You have to get ideas and produce the ideas in the physical reality. No more brainwashing, no bullying, no indoctrinating. Sciences are the only things taught. And so, yes, I've got a whole bunch of projects all piled up, more digitally piled up. I've got more than enough for my lifetime in Zion, but I can't start it until you guys are given your land of inheritance and you're set in your life. And so, let's hope it's soon. So, here you go. Gotta go learn it now. So watch for the fall, because America, likewise, there's some things going on that I've been trying to let you in on that you need to pay attention to. Because Trump is going to force Utah to do his will. But Nelson has plans of his own using Trump to get it done. And there's going to be some conflicts. Pay attention. Heads up.